It took everything in me to fight for my justice. I fought for my justice for 3 years, which is what he's going to serve. I've fought through all my teenage years to get to the point where I am now and build a life for myself after what he has done to me. And then to be made to feel so little and this taken away is, I can't even begin to explain.
What is it like to hear then that someone who attacked you is being released early? Jade Belgrove had been told that the man who raped her when she was just 14 will be one of the prisoners released early. She gave up her anonymity so that she could campaign on the issue, and she joins us now. Good morning, Jade.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for coming on the programme. I'm sorry to have to ask you to explain what happened to you, but I think it's really important for people to understand the context here. Are you happy to tell us your story?
Yeah, that's fine. So I was groomed and raped at 14. The grooming started when I was about 12 in hindsight. And then, he raped me twice when I was 14 years old and sexually assaulted me. It was a family friend.
And how long was his sentence?
So he was sentenced to 9 years consecutively, to serve 6 under the 3 quarters.
Okay, so you would have expected him to be in prison for 6 years.
Yeah.
And you now think that he will be released early. How were you told about this potential early release?
I received an email on the 15th of June to say that it was just a standardised email that we've all received, or letters that we've all received, just basically saying that there's been a different look at the Sentencing Act and that people are now facing either 33% of their sentences or 50%.
So do you know at what point he might be released? What point through that 6 years that you expected him to serve?
So I believe it'll be 50%, which means that he will get out next year. Okay. From what I've calculated. So, yeah, it's horrendous, to be honest.
So it's only 3 years for what is an absolutely, as you say, horrendous crime. And part of the government's proposals here were that if somebody was set to be released who had been involved in a crime like what happened to you, and I'm so sorry that you had to experience it, but that you as a survivor, that you would be given a hotline to call, you would be able to ring somebody to speak to about this, and that there would be a review of this person and the risk that they posed in the community. Has any of that happened?
No, not at all. I sat in Parliament the other week listening to Jake Richards trying to argue this and saying that he'd reached out to all victims, and I was sat there with 9 others, and not one of us has heard anything. Not one of us has had any reassurance other than this standardised letter that all of us have received. We haven't been given anything else, and it's horrible.
I mean, how does it make you feel?
It makes me feel like the weak, vulnerable child that I was. It took everything in me to fight for my justice. I fought for my justice for 3 years, which is what he's going to serve. I've fought through all my teenage years to get to the point where I am now and build a life for myself after what he has done to me. And then to be made to feel so little and this taken away is, I can't even begin to explain the trauma that is causing me again.
Have you been able to speak to anybody? Have you been able to find anybody who could help you here? Anybody in the justice system? Could you even reply to the email? Was it an email you could reply to?
I could reply to it because it came from my victim liaison officer, but they know as much as we do. There's no questions that they can answer as such. We've been told that a lot of the first releases are being done in bulk, so some exclusion zones aren't even being looked into that individual victims request, because they're just literally doing them in bulk and just getting them out to process them as quick as possible.
So what you're saying there, just to be really clear so that people understand this, is a person that you knew, that was a friend of your family, that knows you very well, may well be released from prison early. You were told via email, you were not given a date, there may be no exclusion zone, you've been given no support, there's no victim hotline, and there's been no review of the safety of that release, despite those being the conditions of this policy being voted through Parliament. Is that right?
That is exactly right, yeah.
What would
And
you...
that's how we're supposed to trust the government to make these decisions over our lives. After all we've been through already, I don't understand how the government is doing this to us.
Do you feel that he is still a risk to you or to other people?
Yeah, 100%. In court, it was shown an A4 document that he sat at a computer and wrote out how to manipulate my family, who to get close with, who to not get close with in order to get to me. And he executed every single one of them until he raped me and did exactly what he set out to do. Like, there is no rehabilitating that. He sat and planned for years before what he did to me, and he gets 3 years.
If the government minister, if the Prime Minister were listening now, what would you like to say to them?
That this desperately needs to be, the violent criminals should not be getting out. We deserve to have our peace that we were promised in a court of law, a peace to rebuild our lives and prepare. We all know that there is a final date for them to get out. Like, I understand that, but to take that final date that we were promised away, it's despicable.
Jade, thank you so much for coming on the programme this morning. I think you're incredibly brave to do so, and our listeners feel the same. And I really hope that the ministers are listening to you right now, and we will do all we can to pass that message on. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
That is Jade Belgrove.
It is we've talked about this so often, you get hardened to what a disgrace this is until you listen to that.
An email.
How are you sending an email to someone who's been raped? And he gets 3... How is 3 years?
She was 14 years old.
Everything about it is so despicable, and you can hear, actually, she did very well to continue that interview. You could hear her voice cracking as she was doing it. But we have to... the system clearly doesn't function. Why could they not have said, we're not interested in what the sentence was? If it is a violent crime, if it is a sexual crime, if it has anything to do with sexual assault or rape, you don't get early release. There are other people in prison on other offences. They could have gone after them. Why are they not going after theft and drugs before they go after that?
I think the problem here is that people are serving longer sentences and the prison estate is full. And as Jade herself said there, all survivors understand that there is a time when the person who did this to you is going to come out of prison. Nobody is saying that these people should be locked up forever. But I think what we've got to get our heads around here is the government changed the law. And when it changed the law, it promised people like Jade that if someone was ever going to come out early, and we know that people will, that there would be a review of the safety, that there may well be an exclusion zone, and that they would have a hotline. Now, a hotline in and of itself is not going to help lots of people, but at least it's something.
Or some sort of personal support.
You can phone somebody who can tell you, look, this is the date, this is how it's going to happen. Those things are not in place, and those things were promised, and those things are things that Jess Phillips, who was a minister at the heart of the previous government, she resigned over. She resigned saying, you are not taking this seriously enough. And now you have, listened to somebody telling you, I got an email and I don't know when, and nor does my victim support officer know when.